Oh my goodness, Mrs. W.
What have we got?
Today, we shall be talking about the jobs that completely transform your polytunnel and your veg plots from summer to winter plantings. These will give us much food over the winter months. In today's video, we need to change the polytunnel and the greenhouse over to their winter clothes. We also need to take a look at our squash. And today is the day that our garlic and elephant garlic goes in. As well as all of this, Mrs. W is getting rather busy in the kitchen. But before all of that, I have one question for you. Answer it down in the comments for us. What's your dream vegetable? If you could grow any vegetable all year around, let us know in the comments exactly what that vegetable would be. October is a month of change. Autumn is a month of change. We still have a bit of summer. We also get some taste of winter. And during the month of October, many of us will probably experience our very first frost. And when that happens, there are certain things that we need to do to protect our plants, especially if they are not frost hardy. Outside in the plots, we have things like sprouts, purple sprouting broccoli, cabbages, cauliflower. They are not frost sensitive. It's going to have to get down to around about -8 or 9 before they really start to suffer. Thankfully, that's something we very rarely see here in our Newdig Norfolk garden. But when it comes to things like the polytunnel, well, these can get frost too. Don't think just because there's a bit of plastic over it or glass in the case of your greenhouse that frost cannot enter that structure. It can and it will. And on those occasions, that's when you need to be looking at protecting these inside here. Maybe a bit of fleece, but it will just ensure that your plants survive. It will never get as cold in here as it does outside. But in my experience, what I've found over the last couple of years since we've had this polytunnel is that if it's a -4 outside, it's likely to be around about -1 in here. There's about a 3-degree difference from what I've found. In the greenhouse, there's less of a tolerance. That's because this polytunnel is positioned right at the top of our garden. There's fencing around it, the compost bays are there, and there's woodland behind us. And what we tend to find is that this stays just that little bit warmer. Whereas the greenhouse, that is right in the middle of our Newdig Norfolk garden. And consequently, if we use the example of a -4 frost again, it's likely to get to about -2 or even -3 in the greenhouse. It's not quite as well insulated. These curry squash have been giving us harvest for quite a few weeks now. And we're left with 1 or 2 just on the plant. What I thought I'd do is show you how I harvest these. People have different methods of doing it, but I find that the way that I do it has always worked, and we don't get any problems when these go into storage. First thing is to take a look at the stem. You can see it's a lovely brown colour. What you don't want to do is to harvest it there. This needs to remain intact. What I like to do is to cut it like so and leave a T on it. And if you slice that through there, moisture can get back into that neck. You can see what's called the onion squash, can't you, Mrs. W?
And it's very onion-shaped, isn't it? Lovely.
And of course, just like onions, you don't want necks that are damp. You want them fully dried. So at this stage is a really good time to harvest, and harvesting them in this way is also a really good method. Whereas the butternut squashes, they're not ready to harvest yet. And I often find this, that they take much longer to become ripe and ready for us to pick. I know in other parts of the world where it's a bit warmer, maybe the summers are a bit longer, these can be ready much earlier than this. But for most of us here in the UK, this is what most of your butternuts look like. When they're ripe, they will more or less be this sort of colour all over. Exactly in the same way as we've got here with the curry. You're waiting for this stem to go a browny colour. This one is already beginning, and it will be more or less this colour. The only thing you might find is that, some of this green stripiness will disappear just a little bit more. Unlike this one here, I don't know if I can move this plant to that, but this is much darker green, and that's still a couple of weeks or so off us even being able to attempt to harvest. With all squash, never leave them out there if you're going to be experiencing a frost. Frost will mean that these plants will not store, and their most valuable commodity that they have is that they store an awfully long time. This is a video that myself and Mrs. W made, I think it was July of this year, and we were then using our very last butternut squash from last season. If you're going to be experiencing a frost and you cannot protect these from a frost well enough, I would advise that you harvest them and move them under cover. For us, I put them, if that ever happens to us, and it does some years, because clearly, the cold weather comes along at different times in different years. We've known a frost here in September before. Oh, never mind about October or November. But what I do is I just take them up to the Polytunnel. Could be a greenhouse, could be a warm conservatory, even just a kitchen window. Leave them on there. It wants to be your sunniest kitchen windowsill if you're going to be using your windowsill, but just make sure you turn them every other day so that each and every fruit gets even sunshine. They are always at their best if they can do this on the vine. But sometimes we have to intervene because Mother Nature, i.e. the weather, decides she's going to throw down some really cold and nasty weather. And at least we will get a harvest. Most of ours, thankfully, are actually going that lovely tan colour. In fact, this one here is just about ready for us to harvest. There's a lovely golden colour. And I would say in the next few days, that stem will be completely brown. We also had some lovely squash harvest from our containers. Done quite a bit of container gardening this year. Haven't done it for a number of years. Essentially because we don't really need to. We've got quite a bit of space out here in which we can grow our vegetables. But we wanted to show that everybody is able to grow some sort of veg. You may not be able to sustain yourself like we can for most of the year. Anything that you can actually grow nice and fresh is always a great thing to do. And of course, you'll be eating the very best vegetables that you can. One thing I did just want to show you, how well No Dig actually works. You can see here, the compost layer is really quite dry. And it looks for all the world that there's absolutely no moisture in this bed whatsoever. But we've been harvesting some leeks. You can see the soil from underneath where we've harvested. It's actually quite damp. And if I dig down, there you go. Now, this is something that I was never able to do back in 2019. Simply wouldn't have been able to do this. This would have been far too hard with the clay. But I can now get down easily into this soil to there. And that will only improve. So No Dig really does help. That compared to that. That's nice and damp. And yes, we have had some rain over the last week or so. But so is everybody else in the UK. And I've seen the other people saying that they've been struggling with their beds are really dry. So, yeah, No Dig. It has so many bonuses, so many advantages. And if you can get your head around not sticking your spade or your fork into your soil, You can grow great vegetables too, and not have to water as much as if you were digging. What I really love about no dig is the amazing harvest they give us. Which brings me to leeks. I've harvested one or two, but I just wanted to just show you this. Now, this leek looks as though it's hardly worth eating. It's been here a while. But actually, if you just peel away, you'll reveal underneath a lovely leek. And because we covered these around about the 2nd to 3rd week of August, these have no allium leaf minor whatsoever. Allium leaf minor can appear anywhere between late August and October. So I would always say, cover your leeks mid-August. No matter how hot it is, no matter what the weather is doing, just cover them. You only need to forget, and they arrive a bit earlier. Once you've got it, they're going to make some awful marks on any allium, not just leeks, but any allium. And also, they'll lay their eggs, and the next generation will be waiting in your soil. They won't have far to go to find your alliums elsewhere. I just want a beetroot too, Mrs. W, so I'll just take that.
Lovely.
And you've seen us do this before. We multi-sow them, and we just twist the largest ones out. Look at that for a gorgeous beetroot.
Beautiful. Lovely.
Oh my goodness, Mrs. W.
What have we got? Oh, wow.
Look at that sweet potato.
Fantastic. It's a really good size.
We've got a few harvests to come like that. That'll be amazing, won't it? When, we talk about gardening through the winter months, of course, frost affects a lot of things. And if things are not frost hardy, then you need to take measures to either protect them or harvest them. Sweet potatoes come into that category where you need to harvest them. If these are frosted in any way, they will not store. But as you can see at the moment, the plant is telling us it's not ready for us to harvest yet.
Still very lush and green, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Only 3 slips in this raised bed.
There are.
And it's absolutely overtaken the space.
It's loved it here, hasn't it?
Really has.
And this is a new dig bed. Before we put the slips in, we grew Kelvden Wonder peas, we grew beetroot.
Lettuce.
Was it turnips that were in here? Yeah, and lettuce. That's right, yes. So it's had many harvests this year. But ever since late May, all those things came out and these have been in here. But they've loved it and they've thrived in there. And the reason I was just having a little root around to see what was there, because I can't see a frost being forecasted yet. But then it is only early October, only in the first week of October. And a couple of weeks' time, that might be a completely different story. But I now know we got sweet potatoes. These carrots in here are looking really quite good. I don't need to harvest them yet. We're still using carrots from our summer harvests. But when it does come to the winter months, it's a good idea to keep an eye on the weather forecast. Because clearly, if things are going to freeze, with root vegetables, they can often be difficult to get out of the ground. Over the years, I've found it really good practice from December onwards at least, is to harvest from the garden what Mrs. W is likely to need. So if we want 10 carrots, I'll harvest 10 carrots when there is no frost about, and they will last us the next 7 days. And I do that with all root vegetables. Just have a look at these, Mrs. W, and just see how they're getting on. Oh, yeah, they're getting there, look.
Nice.
Lovely carrots.
Beautiful carrot, that one. Beautiful.
Carrots are largely unaffected by frost. It'd have to be quite a severe one before it would render these unharvestable or inedible. So they're a good crop to grow like that. If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to leave us a like. It's really important for us because it helps myself and Mrs. W reach other people, people who probably may not have grown vegetables before and are really thinking about growing for the first time. And then they can benefit from what we've learned and hopefully grow great vegetables too. When it comes to planting garlic, just look to save your largest heads and then just separate the cloves. Don't worry about the paper that's around it. They'll grow perfectly well through that. You don't need to be scraping it all off. That is the basil plate, and that goes down into your soil. And the pointy bit you see, that's where the leaf is going to come out. And I've just dipped a hole. It's about 1 inch deep. All I'm going to do is quite simply drop that in there like so. All you need to do is cover it over. Planting done. When planting your garlic, I have in the past done it at about 4 inches, and it grows okay. But we seem to see more and more rust on garlic these days. And so what I would advise right here and now is to set them 6 inches apart within the row. And between the rows, 12 inches. This will ensure adequate spacing, and hopefully the airflow will be good, because the rust you see on your garlic, and indeed on your leeks, is a fungal disease. And it's porous air circulation and dampness that causes the problems you see with rust. There's probably going to be about 15 to 18 cloves to plant. But what I would always advocate is go for the larger ones that you have. As you get further into the head, they'll start to get a bit smaller. I don't know if you can see that, Mrs. W. Let me get that in my hand. You can see they get much smaller.
Look at that. Quite a big difference, isn't there?
This one should have all the genes that it needs to produce a nice size head of garlic for you next year. Whereas this one typically has smaller heads, and the genes that are in that have been passed on to that particular clove, it's only going to make you a smaller head. The good thing about garlic is that if you keep doing that and saving these cloves, you'll never pay for garlic again. You only need to pay for your garlic once. The other good thing about garlic is that you don't have to wait for beds to become clear. You can interplant this, because you won't see the green leaves coming up from here for, well, at least a month. And in some cases, I mean, I've planted this before, I haven't seen the green leaves appear until Christmas. So, don't be too concerned if you don't see the green leaves appear straight away. It's going to be busy putting all its roots down first and getting itself a really good root system so that when the warmer weather does arrive, around by February time, it gets away really quickly and can power away. The reason why you want to actually plant garlic at this time of the year is that it does need a period of cold. Don't worry about it being frosty or anything. It needs that period of cold so that the head will split so that you have cloves. And if you don't, you're going to be left with something like this. Now, this happens to be elephant garlic. We grew this last year from the little bulbils that were on there, didn't we? And that's a monobulb. So it should split next season, and we should see cloves like this. So again, if I just open this out, look at the size of those.
Beauty.
In fact, when you grow them well, look at the size of that one. And just as a comparison, that's normal garlic, that's elephant garlic. Wow.
Fantastic.
Now, I've got several cloves to put into the bed. So while I'm attending to that, why don't you nip down to the No Dig Norfolk gardener's kitchen, see what Mrs. W's up to.
Hello. We had a request a couple of weeks ago now from one of our subscribers asking if I had a recipe for green tomato chutney. And yes, I do. It was actually my mum's recipe that she always used. I believe it came from the WI, the Women's Institute, in the 1970s. And this recipe marks the beginning of our Get Ahead for Christmas series. So do make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our helpful guide to prepping ahead for a stress-free Christmas. For the recipe, you will need a large preserving pan or stainless steel saucepan, 2 kilograms of washed and green tomatoes, 750 grams of shallots or onions chopped finely, 500 grams of cooking apples cored, peeled and finely chopped, 600 ml of vinegar, 250 grams of raisins, 4 chilies, 25 grams of grated fresh ginger, 10 ml of sea salt and 500 grams of soft brown sugar. This vegetable chopper that Mr. W bought for me earlier in the season has been absolutely time saving, just brilliant. I can't rate it enough. It's really good. We'll put a link for this in the description below if this interests you. It's really good when you're making a lot of chutneys and things like that, things that need to be chopped quite finely. It comes with 2 different sizes of blade, which this is the larger blade and there's a smaller one too. So all you do is you just put your veg in, press it through. You put all of the chopped vegetables, fruits and ginger and the raisins into the pan. Then you add half of the vinegar into the vegetables and give that all a good mix around. Pop that onto the hob and start to warm it through, gently warm it through, and once it's got to a nice simmer, we just turn it down a little bit and simmer it until it is soft and pulpy. Got to that lovely pulpy stage now, and it's taken approximately 30 minutes to get to this stage for us. So before I do anything else with this, I'm going to just pop into the oven my clean jars. It's on 100 degrees centigrade, and I'm going to pop them in there while we finish cooking the chutney to sterilise. Next we add in the remainder of the vinegar, the salt, sea salt, and the soft brown sugar. Give it a really good stir around. And then we just continue simmering this now until it is quite a thick consistency. While that's just simmering away, for those of you who subscribed to our October newsletter and followed along with the slow gin recipe, if you followed along, this is how mine is looking at the moment. It's lovely depth of colour, and we've got the almonds floating on the top. And if you haven't already subscribed to our monthly newsletter, it is totally free of charge, and the link is in the description below. We've got the warmed jars and sterilised jars out of the oven. Quite simply with the funnel, you start to decant the chutney into the jars. At this moment in time, if you press the top, you can hear a little bit of a pop. It will form a vacuum And in the morning, when you press that lid, it will not have any movement in it at all. If it's gone like that, then you will know that it's sealed perfectly. And you can then store these in your pantry for up to a year. As lovely as it tastes now, and believe me, I have tried it and it does taste really nice. The longer you can leave it, give it a good 3 to 4 weeks, and the flavours will amalgamate and mature, and it will be such a stunning chutney. Perfect to serve along a charcuterie board, a cheese board, over Christmas. It's really, really delicious.
So as you saw, we didn't get left with too many green tomatoes. And let me tell you, that tomato chutney is absolutely amazing. A wonderful way to use up the few green tomatoes that hopefully only you have. Has been an exceptional summer here in the UK this year, and hopefully, like us, it's helped most of your tomatoes mature and turn a nice red colour. And you've enjoyed them. But for now, that's it. No more tomato plants.
It's an empty space. It looks so bare, doesn't it? Oh my goodness.
It looks so much bigger.
Yes, it does, yes.
But fear not. South Mrs. W, we always look to grow food all year round. There's not a single month of the year when we're not growing something or harvesting something. On the other side already, where we took the super sauce out and the San Marzano, we've already made some plantings. We've got our overwintering onions, there's some turnips, there's some beetroots. What else have we got? Chicory we've got, haven't we? Chard, yes, some chard in there. And on the bench over here, spring cabbages, they're ready to go in. They've got 2 true leaves. What else have we got here? We've got some kale that's going to grow in here over winter. Some more lettuce to keep the lettuce continuing to grow well into next year. So next spring was when this lettuce we have here, we'll be harvesting that. So we don't like to be without. We've got a few more spring onions, radishes, they're looking good. The next lot of pak choy, which will grow in here, and another lot of turnips. And they will quite easily fill this space in here. Also, what we need to do is bring our potatoes in very soon. Probably at least by the end of this month. And if we're forecast a pretty severe frost or a frost of any kind, they'll come into here anyway. We've got about 8 containers of potatoes. They're already in flower, so they're doing really, really well. Some years, we have a very good harvest from the potatoes that we grow in the second half of the year. In other years, we get really quite small harvests. But gardening is supposed to be fun. And it's quite fun just to see if you can chance your arm, go up against Mother Nature and just see if you can get that little extra harvest. Because when it does come right, my word, lovely, freshly harvested new potatoes on Christmas Day or Boxing Day or any time over Christmas, that is just amazing. These structures, of course, does help. They make it a lot easier. And I have to say, for us, normally if we don't get a particularly great harvest, it will be because they will have been grown outside. And of course, at some point, the frost will come. Could be November, but it will come. And then, of course, it stops the plants growing. By keeping them here in the undercover spaces, the frost won't get to them. It might freeze in this polytunnel from time to time, but it won't get cold enough that it will affect the leaves. It's normally just the soil that goes a bit white. And in most years, that won't happen until well into January. It won't happen this side of Christmas as a rule. Of course, there are still many things that we need to do outside in the plots. The runner beans are just about there. The pods have all gone nice and crispy, so we can start harvesting those very soon over the next week or so. And we'll be able to save those seed, and they will be next year's plants. We want to remove the sunflowers, but not completely from our garden. We'll show you a bit more next time what we're going to do with those to ensure that the birds over the winter period have plenty to eat. The next jobs that we have to do is to add our yearly layer of compost onto these beds. Strawberries need to come back in, but before I do any of that, I just need to give the whole structure a good clean. And it's good practice to do it at this time of the year. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but on that side of the tunnel, it's gone a bit green, so it's not going to get too much light. This side is not so bad, but even so, it's not getting the maximum light penetration. And that's exactly what we need to be able to grow things over late autumn and the winter period. All of these things we shall look at over the next couple of videos. So if you don't yet grow food most of the year and you want to see more of our winter series, which will involve all the harvests, the things that we still have to plant, and exactly how we manage our No Dig Norfolk garden over the winter months, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And that way, you won't miss any of the winter series. We're going to be including some of the from seed to table videos. We've got a few more of those that will go out probably sometime late November onwards. So if you want to get the complete guide on how to grow vegetables, then again, make sure you're subscribed and you'll know exactly when they come out. I think we've had some great feedback on those videos from people who are maybe first-time gardeners and the first time they're growing vegetables, and they can just get to see the whole growing cycle of any given vegetables. Now, on a very proud daddy note, as you know, the last weekend was Abby's wedding day, and it went down an absolute storm, didn't it, Mrs. W?
Such a wonderful day, wasn't it? So proud.
Yeah.
Such a happy day.
Yeah.
Just lovely.
It really was. It really was. And the really lovely thing about it is, Abby has grown up all her life with her father growing vegetables, and it was nice that actually on her wedding day, a lot of this garden actually represented her at her wedding. As we take our leave of you for this video, I shall leave a few pictures right at the very end, and you can see what an amazing job Mrs. W did in dressing the reception, the barn, and a couple of pictures from the wedding itself.
You better.
Oh.
Yeah. Granddad.
God, don't you look lovely?
Rosie's excited.
Sweetheart, you're amazing.
Thank you.